Welcome to episode 21 of Believe in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell, joined alongside Seth Dowdle. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a lot of different things regarding college football this past weekend, but in particular, we'll be talking about TCU's win over Cincinnati, take a look at their season and maybe some bowl game predictions and what's going on with the Big 12 and college football as a whole. But quick check-in, Seth, how are we doing today? Do you have a good Thanksgiving break?
Yeah, it was a good holiday. Good, nice holiday. Um, Always a tough week because you get Thanksgiving in the middle of the week, and then it's like Thanksgiving's bracketed by like 3 days where I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But luckily this weekend was a good sports weekend, so therefore that filled that pot up. But yeah, it was good weekend. Got to see some family and excited for Christmas now. Let's fast forward through the month of December, please, and let's just get to the end of the month.
Yeah, let's get through finals, all that. Let's just get straight to Christmas. That sounds like a good idea. Um, but good. I'm glad you had a good Thanksgiving break. Let's talk about TCU's win, though. They did win on Saturday on ESPN Plus.
Yikes! Two straight
Probably,
ESPN Plus games.
yeah, probably wasn't watched by a ton of people considering it was being played right in the middle of the biggest game in Texas in the SEC. But TCU did defeat Cincinnati 20-13 in the snow. It was freezing cold, crazy conditions there in Cincinnati, and TCU prevailed. They didn't score a single point in the second half, and the defense came through. But we're going to just talk about this game pretty briefly. I think we both expected TCU to win this game. They did. It wasn't the greatest game ever, but it was a strong defensive effort.
Yeah, no, it was a weird game because the offense was not humming, but they were doing enough in the first half. They scored 20 points. It's kind of the same old though on the offense. Can't run the ball. Your only rushing is Haas Haney, who leads the team in rushing with 48 yards, and most of that is like on the last drive of the game. Josh Hoover plays probably not his greatest game of the season. Not his worst though. Kind of just a mid Josh Hoover game. And then the defense played well, but they also gave up 200 yards rushing. It was kind of weird. It's one of those games where you're like, yep, you held them to 13, but at the same time, they kind of ran it down your throat.
Yeah, they did have their way with the running game, but the defense came up with 3 turnovers, which was pretty nice. Definitely shifted the momentum several times in this game. But yeah, very weird offensive game because Haas Haney was your leading rusher. Not sure how anyone's would have seen that coming. Kind of forgot he was still on the team. I was like, oh, there he is. Like, yep, okay. And then unfortunately with Jack Best, he got injured in the middle of the game. But the latest report is that it's not too serious of an injury. He's out for the rest of the season, obviously. But for the Senior Bowl, I don't know if he's going to be able to. I don't know, when is the Senior Bowl?
I can tell you right now. Just give me 1 second.
Because I would expect that he would hopefully still be able to play in that, and then the NFL Combine, because he's probably going to be looked at by a lot of different teams after this season. But
yeah, I don't know if I even would have. I know he's not going to play in the bowl game, but I don't know if he really would have anyway. Yeah. It's on February 1st. So
okay.
he should be back in time.
Yeah, I should be back in time for that. Unfortunate what happened with Jack Best. Just praying for a speedy recovery with him. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It was just a weird game because it felt like TCU had multiple chances to like pull away multiple times and they couldn't. But overall, I'm not like disappointed because they won the game, obviously. And like you said, 8-4 looks a lot better than 7-5. You said that last weekend. So I'll take it. Dub's a dub.
Yeah, I'll take it too. You got a snow game. I have never seen a TCU snow game before. They were looking good in the snow. Those chrome helmets, white jerseys in the snow were looking clean. I was a little worried though when it started to snow. I was like, we ain't built for this, guys. we ain't ready.
We're not used to this.
And it turns out nobody was because. So did Cincinnati? I'm going to admit something. I did not get a good look at this, but that Cincinnati extra point on their touchdown? He just straight up missed that, right?
Yes, he just
Okay.
straight up missed it, and then we had an offside or something, and then he missed it again.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was no one was ready for the snow. This game featured probably one of the worst Hail Mary attempts I've ever seen in my life by Brendan Sorsby.
it was bad. It was really bad.
He overthrew everybody. Um, this game featured, I don't know, like this was like a fever dream of a game because this is a game I probably will forget like immediately after talking about this. Other than the snow, I will never think about this game ever again. Probably one of the more forgettable games of TCU season. This and the Kansas game. That game was pretty forgettable. Any game on ESPN Plus is automatically 10 times more forgettable than anything on broadcast television.
Yeah,
But as you said, 8-4 TCU covers 2.5. The under hits. That's all I can say. I don't know. Like it's just TCU 8-4, 6-3 in conference. If you told me 6-3 in conference, I probably would have at the beginning of the year probably would have said that's okay, given the schedule looked pretty tough. But not anymore. I am very disappointed in how they handled the schedule. But given how the schedule was going a while ago, 8-4 seems fine, I guess.
yeah, that's kind of where we'll get into our next topic here. Is this a successful season for TCU, or is it a pretty big disappointment? Not I wouldn't say a pretty big disappointment, but is it like we it could have been better, right? Because their schedule was super easy. Like, I mean, I would argue probably one of the easiest in the Big 12. You didn't have to play a top team in the conference. Um, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
didn't play BYU, Arizona State, Colorado, or Iowa State, or Kansas State. You didn't play any of those people. And you
Yeah.
still lost 3 conference games. And let me remind you who those 3 conference game losses are to. Baylor, fine. Baylor, I'd argue that Baylor is a good football team. They're a good football team. But the other 2 are to Houston and to UCF at home.
Both at home.
UCF finished 2-7 in the league and 4-8 overall, and Houston finished 3-6 and 4-8 overall. UCF, Gus Malzahn resigned immediately after the game on Saturday to take the Florida State offensive coordinator job, and then Houston was just expected to be bad all year, and they weren't great.
Yeah, I definitely have been struggling with this over the last few weeks, trying to decide. Yeah, well, I mean, how do you evaluate this season? Obviously, I think things could have gone a lot worse. After we lost to Houston, I mean, there were serious discussions about Sonny Dykes' job and how many more wins does this team get for the remainder of the season. There was a lot of tension, and it was really bad here in Fort Worth, just the vibes overall. So the fact that they were able to turn it around, and they looked pretty good in all of those games. There wasn't a game where it wasn't like I guess bad per se. They looked pretty good in all of their games that they played the second half of this season. But again, it was against inferior opponents. So, but for me, I'm going to have an optimistic perspective. I think given the fact that they're able to turn it around is good, and it's a little bit of momentum heading into next season. And if you can win this bowl game, that's even better. So I'm happy with the way things went. My prediction was 8-4 or 9-3, and they did exactly that. So I'm not going to be super upset about it, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, here's my biggest reason to be optimistic. So you finish 8-4, that's good. That's good. You go to a bowl game, and 8-4 is not a disaster of a football season by any means. I would have said that 7-5 probably would have been. If they lost to Cincy or one of these like last games against Oklahoma State, Arizona, or Cincinnati, that's pretty much unacceptable. But they did it. Finished 8-4. The other thing is TCU has the top recruiting class in the Big 12 coming in 25. Better than Colorado by a lot, actually. Like Colorado's second, and it's better. They have 29 really good players coming in this recruiting class. I believe it is the 22nd best recruiting class in the country, which, given the teams in front of them, do you want to know some teams that TCU has a better recruiting class? I know this means nothing, right? This means because it matters how you develop those players, but it just means in terms of what is TCU's attractiveness to talent. TCU theoretically is more attractive than Nebraska, South Carolina, Mississippi State, SMU, Clemson, Kentucky, Arkansas, Colorado, UCLA, Indiana. They have a better recruiting class than all of those teams. The biggest one that surprised me was Clemson. What in the world are we doing, Dabo?
That's all he does. He doesn't hit the transfer portal, so
No,
he should at least be good at that.
They have the 29th ranked recruiting class right now. But yeah, that's kind of like where I'm like, okay, I'm encouraged, right? And this is part of the reason why we brought Sonny in, is that we thought he was a pretty good recruiter, and he has been. It's just keeping those guys in the program long term and developing them has been an issue. So if that starts to change, if you start keeping some of the guys in the 24 class, bring them over the 25, which I think is going to be pretty good, and then he's had pretty good transfer portal classes, right? I'd say that a lot of the players that are contributing to this TCU team are coming out of the portal. You know, Eric McAllister, Jack Besh. Those are the two on the offense that, stand out to me the most, right? So it's just, if he continues to do that, and I don't know, it's just, I'd say that you look at next season and you go 9-3 is like a pretty favorable, thing to expect.
It's a step back in the right direction, because last year they went 5-7, and we're thinking, oh goodness, we just took a massive step back. TCU very well could have continued to head in that direction of 5-7, 6-6 seasons where it's just mid all season long. But TCU took a big step forward. They picked up 3 more wins this season, and now you can hope that, okay, now TCU can start to put together these 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 kind of seasons moving forward. And especially with how the Big 12 was completely wide open this season, I don't imagine that there's going to be a program that emerges as the absolute best. I think it's going to be wide open probably for the next couple of seasons. So that's where you hope TCU can take advantage of that really good recruiting class and start to develop into a really good program.
Yeah. And I thought we'd look at the schedule, or not. We don't know what the order these teams are, but we have who TCU is playing next year. Do you want to go ahead and let's look at this, and we can game plan this out if we want to?
Sure thing.
I know last year we looked at this year's schedule and we were like, man, that's a tough one, and it ended up being really easy. So this could be an exercise that proves like meaningless in like 9 months, but I think it's interesting. So the non-con game is at North Carolina. I think that is a very interesting game. North Carolina's going to have a new head coach.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I was going to say, new head coach.
Then they get Abilene Christian, which is the FCS game. That's a dub, hopefully. But I don't know. Texas Tech would say, wait, hold on. You might go to overtime against them.
Yep.
Then you get SMU at home, which I like that. I'm liking that we're getting SMU at home, and this is the last one. I think I mentioned on the pod like this year was the last one. This is the last one.
Yeah,
25.
I did think too that it was this year, but yeah, one more.
And then this is kind of where it gets a little testy. You get some tough away games. We're going to go to at Arizona State, at BYU, at K State in Big 12 play, and at West Virginia. And Big 12 dreams have lived and died in West Virginia.
Almost died for us 2 years ago.
Yes, yes. So if Arizona State, BYU, and Kansas State are as good as they were this year, those will be some tough away games. If they're not, then obviously it gets a little easier, like we thought with Utah. But and then the home games are Colorado, Baylor, Iowa State, and Cincinnati, which is pretty tough too. If Colorado, Baylor, and Iowa State are all as good as they were this year.
So they kind of flipped our schedule. They gave us and not this wasn't intentional, obviously, but we played like the worst teams in the Big 12, and next year we're playing the best teams. Given now, obviously that could change, but based off of this year's results, we're playing the best teams.
Yes. We will play both teams in the Big 12 title game, and we play the top 4 teams in the league this year, top 5 teams in the league this year, next year. I say all that to say that TCU played the top 5 teams in the Big 12 in the preseason poll this year too, and none of them finished even close to that. So.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Colorado, in particular, what they'll look like next season. I'm gonna assume that Dion will stay, but obviously they're losing Shador and Travis Hunter, and I'm curious to see how they'll kind of transition to a new era without those guys.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I'm in the stage though with Colorado where like I trust. I think I trust.
I do too. Yeah, Dion's done a great job.
Yeah. So, yeah, but you look at the schedule, and I'd say TCU can easily win 8 of these games if like you stack up roster to roster on paper. Now we don't play the games on paper. I understand that. So we'll see. I do think that the non-con is. I think the schedule is going to be tougher than this year's because the non-conference is way tougher. I think going to North Carolina is like 10 times tougher than going to Stanford.
Yeah.
So, and Abilene Christian, like I know, like that's the FCS school, but they're in the F. They went like 11-1 on their F. They won every other game that they played except for the Tech game this year, which they lost by 1. So,
yeah, it'll be tough. And then SMU certainly will be should be good again next season, or they could also go 5-7 next year, just like us. You never know.
I'm not rooting for it. I am actually. Oops.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult schedule as we look at it right now for TCU, but there's a lot of things that happen in between then, just the transfer portal and hoping that a lot more guys will stay. But I think we can talk about that a little bit more as we kind of get more news about who's entering the transfer portal and all that. But TCU still has a bowl game to play. Who they play, where they'll play, we have no idea yet. But fingers crossed. I don't know if your fingers are crossed.
Bowl.
Yes, Pop-Tarts Bowl. Bring us the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Bring it on.
There's a significant chance that they just play in Fort Worth in the Armed Forces Bowl.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool.
I don't know if it'd be cool, but it'd be convenient. It'd be very convenient.
Yeah, I guess at the same time, it's like part of the bowl game experience is going to a new stadium, going to play somewhere else. Be like, oh, well, we're playing at home.
Yeah, and there's a chance, I don't remember what it is, but there's a chance if we play in that game, then we're playing one of the service academies, and it'd probably be like Navy, and it'd be like, oh gosh, no, not Navy against this run defense.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think, and now that I think about it, I kind of don't want that game now. It'd be cool to play somewhere else, and it'd be cool if we got an SEC team like Arkansas.
Yeah, I've seen some LSU Arkansas projections, like play one of those 2 guys.
It'd be cool. be a good chance to kind of dig into that uh, SEC, Big 12, ACC talk that some coaches that shall not be named have been discussing about. Um, but yeah, excited for bowl season. Should be a good time. Uh, Seth, were there some other things you told me you wanted to talk about some certain things regarding
We
college
do.
football? I'll let
We
you go
have
in.
we have many a topic. We'll kind of rapid fire through these. First is we have an epidemic, Zion. We have an epidemic on our hands. Prior to Saturday, flags were not being planted across this country at midfields. But on Saturday, I think it happened around 40 times. And after this happened, everyone decided it was a brouhaha, decided that it was time to fight. Like this was a WWE event. And yes, I know this is all scripted, but come on. Let's calm down a bit here.
Yeah.
We have the Ohio State Michigan one. I'm sorry, wait. We say winners first. Michigan Ohio State one. Where Michigan, you go into the shoe and you I don't know. I don't think Michigan beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State lost to Ohio State on Saturday. I don't really know what was happening there. But Michigan wins and you plant the flag, and then all these Ohio State players who look like they were sleepwalking for 60 minutes decided that, oh, we can't have this on our field. And then there's pepper spray. Who had the like? What do we do? Like, what people are getting pepper sprayed, and then all the other teams in their hotel rooms saw this and were like, "That's a good idea. We should do that."
Let's do it. Let's get into brawls.
NC State did it. Arizona State did it. Florida did it. I'm sure there were others.
Did you say Arizona State?
Arizona State put their trident like on midfield.
Yep.
The thing is, like, a couple of them were like, okay, so Florida State. Florida did it against a 2-10 Florida State team. Okay, let's calm down here. Arizona is 3-9. And then NC State, North Carolina. I mean, sure. But didn't y'all both? I saw a tweet. It was like, sure, do it. But didn't y'all both lose to Duke?
Yes, I think they did.
So that's the one thing. We have a flag planting epidemic on our hands, and we need to figure out why. I think it's Michigan's fault. Speaking of, if Ohio State loses to like Tennessee in the first round, Zion, are you paying $37 million to fire that guy?
Ooh, yeah, probably. I think at this point, it's like national championship or bust at this point for Ohio State.
And even then, it'd feel like weird. I'd have like a weird taste in my mouth about it if I was a Ohio State fan.
To win the national championship or to
yeah, it's like cool we won, but like we've lost to Michigan 4 times in a row, and like that's the job.
It to me, like, obviously I'm not like huge into knowing, like, obviously I'm not an Ohio State or Michigan fan, so I don't know extremely well, but that kind of feels like the national championship for these two programs. And
Yeah.
especially that the fact that they were what 3-score favorites coming into this game at home. You have everything going your way. Throw the football. I don't know. Michigan's missing their top cornerback, right? And so,
and you
throw
have
the
two of
ball.
the best. You have like 3 receivers who are like amazing.
Yeah, I think. But to answer your question, if they lose in the first round of the college football playoff, I think it's worth having a discussion because Ohio State has just not won the big games in recent years. They just have not. They beat Penn State, sure. I'll give you that. They lost to Oregon, and they lost to Michigan. So you lost two of your three biggest games of the season,
They
and you've
yeah.
done that several years in a row now.
You lose that Georgia game 2 years ago in the playoff, like a couple weeks after you did lose to Michigan, right? And that was one of their best games of the year, like that they played that season. And yet at the end, the baffling decision to settle for a 50-yard field goal with a college kicker who then shanks it all the way to Manhattan, uh, right as the clock strikes midnight on the East Coast. And if he makes that field goal, and we say this as TCU homers, they probably beat TCU and win the national championship.
They do. I think they do.
Yeah,
And it saves us the opportunity of getting smacked by 58 because it's, we probably lose by like 28.
30.
But
Yeah,
hey,
28. Yeah.
but nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about how we lose by 28 points.
Because
So,
Ryan Day, in my opinion, is kind of a wimp, and he wouldn't run the score up like
yeah.
Kirby did because Kirby's a menace.
Yeah. So, yeah, because of that, yes, fire Ryan Day.
But yeah, that's the point though. Like the opportunities have been in front of Ryan Day and this team to stop the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have beaten Georgia and win the national championship in the midst of the losing streak to Michigan. And I think a lot more is forgiven. But now it's kind of like, in my opinion, as someone as a neutral observer, I don't know who they're going to play in the first round. I don't even know if they're going to host. Uh, but if they lose that first round game to whoever it is, it's probably going to be like Tennessee or something like that. I don't know. Then yeah, I think you might have to go. I think at the very least he has to go find something else because he can't live in Columbus anymore. I
No,
say that in all seriousness.
it's chaos
Yeah,
if he sticks around and they don't win a national championship.
take the UCF job, Ryan Day.
Yeah. That would be a huge step down. Holy, the
Ryan Day,
Ohio
West
State.
Virginia head coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Purdue head coach. Other thing we got to talk about. We got to talk about the biggest game in Texas, the state of Texas history, Zion, and how it kind of was a dud, and it was no one's fault other than Texas A&M who didn't show up.
They did not show up. Look, as a former Texas, I mean, okay, I'm still kind of am a Texas fan, but just for context, I grew up a UT fan um, my whole life, and then I came to TCU, and that switched instantly. But now that Texas is in the SEC, I can kind of root for them again. But growing up, I never liked Texas A&M. I was born, I was raised to not like Texas A&M. So I really wanted Texas to win this game, and they did. But Texas A&M looked horrendous on offense, and partially because of the Texas defense. They are incredible in short yardage situations. I mean, they kept denying Texas A&M in those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, whatever. But yes, it was kind of a dud because Texas A&M couldn't move the football. Literally, Texas was like, "Here, we'll give you an interception. Okay, we'll give you a pick six. We'll give you a blocked field, or was it a blocked punt or blocked field goal?
Punt. It was a punt.
Blocked punt. We'll give you all these chances," and they still could not do anything. It was kind of sad, but I enjoyed it at the same
Yeah. I don't know. Texas A&M is forever cursed to go 8-4.
time. Yep.
And here's the thing. Now here's something. If you would have told me that TCU would have the same record as Texas A&M coming into the year, I would have said, "Crap, we went 8-4."
That's funny. Yep.
We did. We have the same record as them, mostly because they lost their last 3 SEC games, to South Carolina, Auburn, and Texas. So,
What an utter collapse from the Aggies.
yeah, they were in the. I mean, still, actually, they were like that was a semi-playoff game for them because if they win that game, they're going to the SEC championship game, and then if they win that, they're in the playoff. So yeah, kind of a weird like that was a playoff game to going to okay, now we're gonna go play in the Tax Act Liberty Bowl or whatever in 3 weeks.
Probably. Stakes have changed.
Texas, though, I mean, we could talk. Like, I don't know if they beat Georgia again. I think that they do. Not again. If they beat them this time, I should say. I think that they're better than they were a couple weeks ago, defensively. And I thought they were really good defensively when they played Georgia the first time.
I think that game is going to be a lot closer than it was a few weeks ago, and I think Texas wins.
I think that what version of Georgia shows up is kind of the question. Because if the version of Georgia that showed up for that Texas game shows up, I think Georgia probably wins.
Mm-hmm.
But if the version of Georgia that played against Georgia Tech shows up, Texas wins by 2 touchdowns.
Yep. It's weird. We're so used to seeing the consistency of Georgia the last few seasons of they're going to be dominant unless they're playing Alabama, and they're just going to roll through everyone. And then here they are struggling against Georgia Tech, getting blown out by Ole Miss. So it's very up and down with Kirby Smart's team, but it's going to be a terrific game. Very excited for that. Quickly, do you want to talk Big 12? Because
yes, we have to discuss
Arizona State versus Iowa State in the
First
Big
of all,
12
TCU was
championship.
alive for the Big 12 title game on Friday.
I don't know how, but we were.
And we were unfortunately putting all our hopes in the hands of Oklahoma State to keep us alive.
And they got destroyed. Absolutely destroyed.
Yikes. That was that one hurt to watch. I think I turned that off pretty fast. I didn't have I had it on a quad box and I was like, okay, let's get this out of here. Time to go watch Ashton Genty. Yeah, Arizona State, Iowa State is the Big 12 title game we all deserve. This is going to be amazing, I think. I am so excited for this. I'm so excited. I'm contemplating going.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I will, but oh, wait, never mind. I'm not. I'm looking at the ticket price right now. Tickets as low as $116. Never mind.
Yeah. Hard pass.
But I think that would be a really fun game to go to. I'm really excited for this. The storylines themselves are great. Iowa State first 10-win season in history. And then Arizona State picked last in the Big 12, preseason poll, playing against each other. It's going to be a ton of fun, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. I don't have a prediction of who's going to win at the moment because I feel like it's going to be a really close game, but very excited for it. Arizona State. Iowa State's winner gets into the playoff. Loser is done.
Loser plays in the Alamo Bowl, I think, is how that's going to work. Winner goes to playoff, loser to Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
Do you have a rooting interest, like one that you prefer?
I mean, I had a couple friends that went to Arizona State, so I guess I'll root for them. They've kind of been a better story, in my opinion, than Iowa State, because Iowa State was like looking really, really good, and then they had a couple losses back to back, and they fell out of the picture, and then they came right back into it, and now they're in the Big 12. But Arizona State was like an increasing, like a story that progressed on and on as the season went on, and then they just kept playing really good football, and it's like unlikely. We were like, oh, Arizona State, yeah, they're going to be at the bottom, but here they are. So I'll root for Arizona State.
I think I will as well, but I will not be disappointed if Iowa State goes out and pulls that one out because that's a great story as well in a lot of different ways. That's going to be a fun one. Conference championship weekend, and then I think we got to talk about this as TCU fans. Clemson, SMU. ACC title game. Um, I think SMU. I think SMU can handle them.
Yeah, I like SMU in this game.
Here's the conundrum though. This is where I might go to bat for the Mustangs. If Clemson wins and SMU is 11-2, will the committee keep them in? I think they should, but will they?
I know. I'm going to defend SMU here. Um, they should still be in. I'm going to be mad if an SEC team gets in over SMU because they've played really good all season long, and they lose the ACC championship game and they get knocked out. I don't I don't really like that. I've really liked what I've seen from them this season. They're playing the best football that they've played in a long time. So I think they deserve to be in no matter what.
I'd be mad at it because of the precedent it would set. I
Yeah,
think would be more so my qualm with it. Not like that I want SMU to be in the playoff. It's just that for all intents and purposes, the ACC and the Big 12 are pretty equivalent in terms of where they stand in terms of the long term. You know, they're not the SEC and the Big 10, right? They're lower than them, and so it would be setting the precedent that a team that's inside the top 12 that has one loss will then get booted after losing in their conference championship game. For it would probably be Alabama at 9-3, who lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
it would be a bad precedent. But if SMU wins, obviously they're in. So
Yeah,
it'll be
I don't
fun.
know.
It'll be a fun conference championship weekend. There's a lot to be excited about as we get closer to the final rankings, the 12-team playoff. Can't believe it.
TCU number
Almost
one. Put them there.
TCU
That was
number one. It's hard to believe that we're at this point. And again, TCU finished their season 8-4, right at where I had hoped they had gone, and we'll see. We'll once we find out the bowl game and who they play, we'll talk about that a little bit more, and we'll still try to keep up with episodes with regarding TCU football with when it's worthy of being discussed with like transfer portal news or stuff like that. And it's sad. We're coming to the end of college football season.
now begins the time of the college football season where everything gets super hectic for no reason at all. The transfer portal is going to open for these guys pretty soon. Signing day is on Wednesday for some reason. We have no idea. I have no idea why. The season is not over.
Not at
is
all.
on Wednesday, and then they got the bowl game, and then obviously got to keep tabs on the kids that are going to the draft. Jack Bash, Savion Williams, all those kind of guys. See how they do at the Senior Bowl and see what they're standing on, like in the combine and stuff like that. So definitely going to be keeping tabs on them because there's a couple TCU players like Savion and Jack Bash who have been really great stories, in my opinion, that have not gone noticed by the greater college football world. But I think that TCU fans deserve to give them their attention as they head off into their pro careers.
Absolutely. They're both really great guys, and I've, I think we're all definitely going to miss them at TCU. They really gave it their all, and it was fun to watch those two this season. And to whoever else, we'll try to move on to the NFL and get drafted and all that. It's, best of luck to them. But that will finish things up here for this episode of Believe in TCU. Later on in the week, we'll do a TCU men's and women's basketball talk because this women's basketball team is on fire and looking to be one of the top teams in the country. So we'll have that discussion for you later on in the week. But thank you for tuning in to Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram Subscribe to our YouTube page or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.